So this is important now. This is one of the main acts without all the modern updates and add-ons, right? So this 1948 one is one of the main three. There's three original acts, and we'll check with the other two before the 1948 ones. But this provision here, 37, I need to check whether this is repealed or not. But it doesn't tell you on the legislation website unless you look through all of the other updates. But I don't think it has been repealed because none of those other acts that I looked through, I checked them, and none of them have got anything about that in them. So I can't see that being repealed. I think they left it as it was. So I'm quite certain that this will be as it was. So what does it say? Election propaganda. Here, this is a law. Election propaganda. And this is the section before it even goes into whether it's London or local or parliamentary or whatever. 37. So it says, no person shall, with the intent to influence person to give or refrain from giving their votes at a parliamentary election. So it might not actually cover local elections then. Although local parliamentary elections, it might not mean that the Mayor of London one might not be covered by it then, unless it means that it's under the authority of Parliament for the council and mayor ones. I'll have to check with the Judicial Conduct Investigation Office. Use or aid, abet, counsel or procure the use of any wireless transmitting station outside the United Kingdom. Well, that's GB News from YouTube. For the transmission of any matter having reference to the election otherwise than in pursuance of arrangements made with the British Broadcasting Corporation for it to be received and transmitted by that corporation. And no person shall, it says person here as well, for the purpose of promoting or procuring the election of any candidate at a parliamentary election, issue any poll card or a document so closely resembling an official poll card as to be calculated to deceive. So you're not allowed to influence people. No person. From giving their votes. So you're not allowed to say, you're not really allowed to tell people who to or not to vote for. But that's not petitioning the government under a petition if you need to collect signatures and you're trying to get people to support something in order to obtain a resolution from Parliament, which of the resolution might be a election or a referendum. Because once you have petitioned for it, they're not helping you to do that, so therefore you need to influence people, right? This is important, right? But once you obtain the resolution and then the government say, right, we're going to have a referendum or an election or whatever, then, you're not allowed to influence. Because they're already doing it for you. It's done fairly and equally. Now, the candidates can, like, George Galloway and so forth. Now, this act, there's some provisions at the start of it, and I think that these cover the whole entire act. They're general provisions. And then there's a section for London and there's a section for the local governments, right? Now, they don't have sections for election propaganda, which is why I believe that this likely covers all of the Act. But this would be ridiculous to enforce because everyone in London is shouting out "Stop ULEZ." Well, actually, saying "Stop ULEZ" is not affecting. If you shout out "Stop ULEZ," you're trying to get people to support a campaign to stop ULEZ. But the "Get Khan Out" thing is influencing it. Although on my particular documents that I made, it said "Vote to stop ULEZ," which is signing petitions, signing a petition to stop ULEZ. I actually got the petition address on some of those as well. It has got the words "Khan Out" on there. Now, am I covered by the right to petition protection? That's a good question. If you're covered by immunity for the right to petition government, and it happens to say "Get Khan Out" on it, is that the equivalent of, can Gail Bradbrook smash a window or not, Now, the thing is, they've already done the petitions to government and the government aren't acting on them. So, really, all of this, Parliament are meant to now, because of the 200,000 signatures, pursue a resolution. And Rishi Sunak says that the Tories don't support ULEZ. So why aren't they actioning it and getting the cameras turned off? Right? Because they override Khan's order. What they're actually doing is they're refusing to do that. They're causing everyone to protest, and now people are engaging in election propaganda for Khan and Sue Hall because of Rishi Sunak and the Petitions Committee in Parliament. That's what's happening. So this election is already invalid at this stage now. On by violation of 37 election propaganda, the election is rendered invalid. And the thing with Rees-Mogg, for his own parliamentary position, it says no person shall with intent to influence. It says person to give. It doesn't even say a person. It says no person. Well, if you're Rees-Mogg yourself, with intent to influence person to give or refrain from giving their votes. Well, this is very, very simple. There's only one question that you need to ask for this. And you only need to ask one question. And that question is very simple. Does Rees-Mogg, by being a permanent presenter and host of popularising himself into becoming a household name and celebrity on GB News, which is broadcast from outside of the United Kingdom, right, which is YouTube, does that affect people who will potentially vote for Mogg in his next election if he stands again? And even if the word is if he does, and I believe it does. I believe that Mogg is popularising himself and making himself into a celebrity and household name when traditionally ministers aren't. They are like, the tax man or the insurance man comes round, the politician, you know who they are, but you're not popularising them and giving them an advantage over others. And that, I think, Rees-Mogg is, and he should also be banned from being an MP again as well. Election use, aid or bet, council or procure the use of any wireless or transmitting station outside the United Kingdom. Transmission of any matter. So I think that I think that it covers YouTube and Facebook and GB News. But it says, no person shall have intent to influence a person to give or refrain from giving their votes at a parliamentary election, use or aid, abet, counsel or procure the use of any... Well, it might not actually... Okay, so I don't think that it affects people on the streets. I don't think that it actually affects people speaking to each other in person, discussing it, or making placards then. I think it is just purely for transmission. And I think that includes YouTube. So it would be like the YouTube channels. It would be like all the Stop ULEZ groups, and if they go onto the subject of vote Sue Hall in or get Khan out, but not for Stop ULEZ. Not if they're saying we don't want to stop ULEZ and get petitions to stop ULEZ and we need to